House Intelligence Committee Chair Devin Nunes apparently issued an apology to members of his own committee. This for some of his actions connected with his release yesterday of his claim that Trump team members were picked up in incidental communications. And this just happened in a meeting. Democratic Congresswoman Jackie Speier of California was in that meeting. Representative, thanks so much for being with us. Exactly what did the chairman apologize for?
Well, that's not clear. Certainly, when we went into the hearing room, we asked that the room be cleared so we could talk to the chairman and the other members of the committee. And Adam Schiff first, raised the issue. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you go through channels here within the SCIF? That's a secure area we have to do our business. And after a few minutes, Devin Nunes did apologize in a generic way.
By surprise, but as you said, he got a hold of information from a source, and we do not know what is the content of that information other than he says it was completely legal. So, sort of FISA court approved, surveilling a foreign entity, and an American gets caught up in that conversation. That's the incidental collection. That person is usually not known unless somebody goes and asks for that person to be unmasked. But he think that either Donald Trump or some family members or other people pertaining to Trump were involved in this and got caught up in this, and he wanted to get that information to the White House. As you know, Donald Trump took this as he said, somewhat vindicated. He felt somewhat vindicated by this information from Devin Nunes, even though it doesn't really vindicate because it has nothing to do with,
doesn't vindicate him at all,
what Donald Trump was tweeting about that Saturday morning in early March.
It doesn't even say that in it. By the way, and I keep hearing this, and it infuriates me, none of this information, not even Nunes, it doesn't say that Trump people or U.S. citizens were being targeted. It's saying incidental collection of information, that someone else, a foreign agent, was a subject, and that other people's information or their conversations were incidentally collected or listened to, which is not illegal, which happens all the time. So I'm trying to figure out what is new about this and how is it pertinent to this investigation.
Well, Don, I can say I think one thing the press missed in his press conference were his very, very first words. If you go back and listen to his tape, what he said is, yesterday at the beginning of our hearing, I asked people to come forward if they had any information on surveillance of American citizens. That was a warning shot to the FBI, because I believe that they had things they had told the Intel Committee privately that were acceptable to be told in publicly, but Comey did not say that.
But there's nothing that shows in this information, Congressman, with all due respect, that U.S. citizens were being targeted or that they were the subject of this.
He said it had nothing to do with Russia. He said the information that he has seen had nothing to do with Russia. So the question was...
But the information he has seen has nothing to do with U.S. citizens being targeted or surveilled.
Yes, they do.
No,
they were Trump transition people. Why were they being spied on?
It was incidental communications. Mr. Mudd, can you please explain this to people? It's not that difficult. And Jack, you're spinning. That's not what he said. Go ahead, Philip.
Do you mind if I break down into tiers first? Let me look at the two pieces of this. The President of the United States indicated in tweets 2 weeks ago that his predecessor illegally collected information against American citizens in Trump Tower. That's illegal. That does not involve a U.S. court, and that involves directing federal agencies to do something that people like me were to resign over. Okay, stop for a moment. For decades, foreign diplomats, officials will be intercepted by American intelligence agencies. When that individual is intercepted, that is occasionally approved, depending on the circumstances, by a U.S. court, by a U.S. FISA court. When that interception of that foreign individual takes place, occasionally they're talking to an American citizen. That is collateral collection, incidental collection. That American citizen is not being surveilled. The foreigner is, and the American called him.
When that happens, they don't get unmasked. They don't get unmasked, though, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But who asked them to be unmasked?
Jack, let him explain, and then you can go in. Go ahead, please.
When there is an investigation underway, for example, by the FBI against that foreign official, the FBI obviously is going to say, who was that Russian, Chinese, Iranian official talking to? As part of the investigation, we have to know. That process is formal. It's called unmasking. I now need to know the name of that U.S. person, and that happens, Don, all the time.
Good. Philip, but why would they need to be unmasked if it had nothing to do with Russia? Because supposedly this was about Russia.
We don't know that they were
And
unmasked.
Time out. None of us
do know
knows
that
what
they're
was in
unmasked
those
because that's what Devin
conversations.
Nunes said. He said they were unmasked.
No,
and
he
remember,
didn't.
Devin
He
Nunes is the one
absolutely
who
did.
unmasked them because no one
and
knew
his
this information.
His question was, why were they unmasked and who ordered them to be unmasked?
Can we just stand back a second and look at the absurdity of the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee going to the White House and making a public statement and making all of this public today? I mean, this is not how you conduct an investigation when you're the head of the House Intelligence Committee.
It's not.
I mean,
it's not. Well, what about the head of the FBI going public with all the stuff he's been doing? Frankly, starting with Hillary Clinton and the investigation of her. So
Now
these
you're
are
upset
unusual.
Now you're upset about Hillary Clinton now?
But I got to say this because it's not like the
Mark
ranking
your
member.
calendars.
It's not like the ranking member and other members, Democrat and Republicans, aren't going out publicly and talking.
But even if that
either.
was true, Jack, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, really, that's not an argument. You have to admit the way he handled this was completely
the White House is the
unorthodox
subject of the investigation.
I think a member of Congress is going to be on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Who's on the Intel Committee?
Yeah, stand by, everyone. Here's John McCain.
What I think the reason why I'm calling for this select committee or a special committee is I think that this back and forth and what the American people have found out so far, that no longer does the Congress have credibility to handle this alone. And I don't say that lightly.
David Chalian.
I mean, that is a man of authority, obviously, who perhaps can begin to sway his own party. I still think it's going to be a tough sell for a lot of Republicans who want to protect Trump in the White House on this still right now, to call for a special committee or somehow outside independent investigator, because that goes in ways they can't always control. But I do think what Devin Nunes did today was basically gut the House intelligence process. I think it's very hard for an American voter, citizen at home watching all of this unfold after seeing the antics today to actually trust anything coming out of the House Intelligence Committee as sort of an impartial arbiter.
I was watching it. I have to tell you, Jack, I was watching it and I was sort of cringing for the guy. But you know the saying us kids say, he played himself.
Well, Don, I really think it goes back to the fact that he was extremely irritated that Comey didn't come forward to.
So
with this
why wouldn't he go
information
to the
yesterday.
investigating committee first before going to the White House, which is the subject of the investigation, and going to the press, which the Trump administration and his surrogates always say, oh, this stuff gets in the media. Why do you go to the media? Why is everybody spreading this? Why not go to his investigating committee and say to Mr. Schiff, hey, listen, we have this information. We need to discuss it. And how do we move forward from here? Instead, he left everyone in the dark. Are you okay with that? Because it seems that his credibility is in question now.
I'm going to assume that Adam Schiff and all the committee members already knew this information. And
They did not.
tell you,
They did not.
Well, hold on.
Each of them, every single one of them said they did not know this information. And what's mind-boggling to me is that the man who is sitting in the White House, who is the leader of the free world, did not have access to this information when all he has to do is pick up a phone or have somebody else call and bring it over.
He's interfering. And the minute he does that, he's accused of interfering. It's like Bill Clinton, if he ever just arbitrarily, say, got on an airplane with somebody
You don't
like
think he's
an
interfering
attorney
in
general.
American business by tweeting out a false tweet about the former administration committing a felony, the former president? You don't think that's interfering in the American judicial or the American democracy?
I think a tweet that goes out publicly is not the same as calling somebody privately, like the Attorney General or the FBI or the Intel
It's much
Committee.
worse.
But let me say this. I really and truly, let me just say this.
Misinformation. Isn't that much worse?
I have spoken to a senior member of the Intel Committee after the hearing yesterday, and they were very
Did they leak
displeased with
classified
the fact,
information to you? Should you have spoken to them? Was it on background or what?
No, I don't want to be a felon. We already have enough leakers in this town and enough felons. But and I've accused of all other things already. But what they were very displeased with is the fact that Comey had been saying some things privately that he could have said publicly, and he did not say them for reasons unknown. Comey is a very clever guy, and you know, one week he's the Democrats' guy, the next week he's the Republicans' guy.
What are you talking about,
But what
Jack?
does that have to do with him not sharing it with Adam Schiff? That doesn't make sense. He's upset with Comey,
Because
so he doesn't share
I know what
information
Jack's
with
talking
Schiff.
about here. I know what you're talking about, Jack, here. The Nunes and others are upset because they got a private briefing from Comey, and Nunes and Schiff had a private briefing from Comey. They know with a lot of detail what the FBI investigation is all about. And I think Nunes was a little miffed on Monday that Comey, when he was asked questions, would not rule in or rule out certain subjects of the investigation, how high up it went. And I think Nunes obviously couldn't say what he knew because he had a private briefing from Comey. And I think that's what you're talking about, Jack, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And
how does that justify what he did today, though? He's mad at Comey.
It made him look like, as someone who was on the transition team, as someone who was trying to lead a nonpartisan